All right, so let's see. There's a couple of team level tasks. Take a look at the. You close the sprint that we should close it today and start a brand new sprint. Carry over any outstanding tasks that you might have, any design stories or implementation stories that you might still be working on. Carry them over. Take a look at any of my designs that we're proposing here. Take a look at some of the source code that we're going to be sharing with you. Perhaps you can reuse that, so get some ideas from that, and to complete your particular stories, so that you can finish up all the any Java RESTful service or any data model or any repository. Take a look at what we're going to be sharing with you, so you can close that up. So that we can now focus on the upcoming task and focus on the front end. All right. So again, from the team level task is that you're going to be meeting as a team. You're going to the Scrum Master is going to close the sprint, open a new one, let everybody choose what screens they want to work on, right? Whether they want to work on a particular summary screen or a details screen. Also decide that there's going to be a couple of files that you're going to have to work together, like the service file, right? You might need to collaborate there, and one of you is going to be working on some functionality of retrieving all records, whereas another one of you is going to be working on being able to retrieve a particular record by ID, but the same file. Yes. So create stories to capture that, right? That you're going to have to work on a screen, that you're going to have to work on a service on the client side. You might need to refactor a couple of things on the data model, right? So make a story just in case you need to either finish up something from the previous or that you might need to refactor something that is not working exactly as you would expect for implementing this. So you might want to track that. Now, there might be some stories that you might have created already in the previous sprints, right? Because we've been filling up the backlog, right, from previous sprints, from functional requirements that we've visited in previous sprints. So there might be already some stories that are there that might be relevant now. Okay, see if they're there. If they're not, create new ones, or if you want to reuse one that is already there, maybe tweak it somewhat, put some additional details in there, size it up. I would assume that everyone's going to end up with 3 or 4 stories. One for the screen, one for the service on the client side, one for the service on the server side, right? And maybe some database updates or tweaking or of adding some dummy data in there for this for be able to test this. So that's what I imagine. Everybody's going to end up with 3 or 4 stories, 1 point each, I would imagine. So have the sprint planning. Give everybody the stories. One example of what it might look like. It might be that one team member might have chosen to work on the user's summary screen, and they've decided to take on the entire. Work on entirely the user service side, right? So I know the RESTful service part. I know that down pat. I'm gonna create the 2 RESTful services, or I'm gonna tweak them if they're not working properly. I'll handle that. Whereas somebody else might decide that, okay, well I'll work on the client side of that service, right? So that I'm gonna work on the HTTP request of fetching that, right? Or you might split up differently, where you're both going to work on user services, but one is going to work on the find all, whereas the other one is going to work on the find by ID. Yes? Right? Depending on the screen that you choose over here. So it's up to you how you want to break it out. There's some couple of things that might be common. For instance, the admin page, you'll need 2 links. 3. One that each one for each one of the screens. So all of you are going to have admin for all of you, right? That's going to have to go in and add those links to your particular page. Yes? And again, that's probably like a half a point story. that might be maybe just a 5-minute thing to go in and add the screen the link. Again, this is just an example on what I imagine the breakup might be. Again, take a look at the backlog. Any stories that are already there, bring them up and add them to the new sprint. Tweak them if you need to reflect the work that we're going to be working this sprint. So that's sprint planning. Every day, remember that there's a 5 to 15 minute meeting that you should have as a Scrum meeting with the Scrum Master. Gathers everybody's status, updates the meeting notes. Those meeting notes, if you're keeping track of it in Google Docs, copy the URL or share that link. Create a story for the TAs to review those meeting notes, right? And maybe copy the URL of the meeting notes right on the ticket, so the TA when they go to that ticket, they can just click on that URL to the Google Doc and they can review the meeting notes. Same thing with the sprint. Create a story for the TA to come back and review the sprint. Check that everybody's loaded, that everybody has stories assigned to them, and that the sprint has been started, right? So that they can keep track of your progress there. Make sense? Everybody good? Now individually, basically it'll be the actually working on your screen, on your service, on your data model, and you'll focus on that. And you'll be responsible for keeping track of the story as it progresses from to do to in progress and to done. What else? Here I've given you some sample code that you might want to take a look at. If it's useful to you, that's fine. You're welcome to use it. Otherwise, if you just want snippets from here, that's fine. If you don't want to use it at all, that's okay too. But I've provided some sample code for everybody, for all the different teams, although I think I got them wrong. This is 3. This is 2. And so, for instance, here for team 3 over here, we have service categories. Right. This is the React component that renders the list of service categories in a table as table rows. So you're welcome to reuse this if you want. We have also the Java service that exposes both the find all service categories or find service category by ID, as well as the repository. Oh, did I just close it? And those were the quiz questions. Let's see. We have the service category, using the on the Java side, and then on the client side, right? These are all singletons. These are all JavaScript singletons that can communicate and generate RESTful calls to the RESTful APIs to retrieve either all the categories or retrieve a particular category by ID. So this is a sister mirror image, right, of being able to communicate to the RESTful service from JavaScript, from React. Okay? All right, so you have sample code. Again, feel free to use this in any way you see useful to you. Yes? I'm sorry, say again? So we are using RESTful controllers as the web service endpoints. Do you mean services, a business service, looking deeper into the data model? Yes, you can use that where it could be used other than this only just the web service. It could be something more internally. Sure. And I think it would be a little bit of an overkill, but sure. If it's something that you want to be able to inject into some other components, you might want to do that. Let's see, what else? Deliverables. Mostly the deliverables are team and individual. The only thing about organization is that we're asking you to please share all these links with us, right? The links for the GitHub, all the GitHub repositories, right? In React, in all the Java repositories. Also the two Heroku projects, which you already shared with us last week, right? Just please share it with us. It's very convenient to have those links. All this should be running remotely on Heroku. Right? Obviously, get it to work locally first, and then have it deployed on Heroku. TA should be able to navigate to your React application on Heroku and navigate through the admin, all the different screens in admin, the ones that you chose to work on. For team, right? Make sure that you provided stories for the sprint and the different and the meeting notes that you had in the Scrum meeting, and also individually, what are the particular stories that you were assigned to work on this particular sprint, right? So that the TAs can then go in and verify the status of all those stories. Okay? All right. All right. I've tried to make these much less verbose than prior. Let's see how it goes. Most of the content here is just design, right? Of talking and discussing on ways to implement this and some suggestions on what you might want to go with. But mostly the actual tasks are much less verbose.